welcome back to Piano with Dawn. So you've gathered together quite a few skills now through the other videos you've been watching. You know how to put your hands on the piano, you know a 1-beat note, a 2-beat note and a 4-beat note. You know about time signatures, you know how to read the music. So what you might want to do is get hold of a beginner's piano tutor, because I think you'll be quite encouraged to find out you can play quite a few of the early tunes. The one I really like, which is a reach across here, is Piano Time by Pauline Hall. And if you go for the blue book, Piano Time 1, you'll be able to look through the first few tunes and you should be able to play them. So we talked about what we were doing when we added these notes in the left hand of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And if you remember, I told you that I chose some notes hinting at the chord that was most suitable at that point. So we're going to spend a bit of time now talking about chords, what they are and how we add them into pieces of music. Good thing about the piano, of course, is that we get the opportunity to play our tune, and then we can also play at the same time either the whole chord or just one note of the chord, so that everyone can tell what we call harmony is underneath the tune. I suppose you could say that chords in the sort of music we've been looking at give music its direction. And I'll show you how that works in a moment. We'll take a closer look at the piano when we're doing that. But it's like if you have a story and you've got a happy beginning, then it moves away to something goes a bit wrong, then it resolves again to a happy ending. That's how we use chords in our music. We kind of give it a bit of tension and then we resolve back to harmony, or back to a happy ending, if you like. And you can hear how that works in a piece of music because the music sounds finished when we've got to the end. So let's find out exactly how we go about making that happen. So what is a chord? Well, a chord is actually any group of notes played together. But what we're going to look at is the simplest form of chord, which is the bottom note, 2 notes up, and 2 notes up again. So 3 notes in all, and we call this a triad. So this is sort of the simplest form of chord, if you like. And we can form these triads on every note of the scale. And let's go back to looking at C major to simplify things. So, we also call the chord after the note of the scale that we're starting it on, or that the bottom of the chord in this form is on. So, that's chord 1, that's chord 2, chord 3, chord 4, chord 5, chord 6, chord 7, and then back to chord 1 again. Now, some of these chords we use more often than not, and we're just going to look at the 3 basic chords that you will find in a piece of pop music or in a piece of Western classical music. And if you remember what I was saying about, we want to sort of start somewhere, move away from it with a bit of tension and then back to the beginning again. So we're going to do something similar with the distance between the first chord we start at, the chord that we go to in the middle, and then the chord we go back to at the very end of the piece. So a good starting point, I think you'll agree, is chord 1. So this is the chord based on the first note of the scale. Now remembering we want to create a bit of tension, Well, why don't we try going to the furthest note away from 1 to get our first chord. So let's head for, what about 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we are, we've got chord 5. So we've got chord 1, chord 5, back to 1 again. Okay, so okay, that's just the beginning of O When the Saints. We'll look at that a bit later on. But you can see I've gone to chord 5 there before I go back to 1 again. Okay, we can also mess around with the way we play these chords, by the way. So rather than having our left hand leaping all over the shop, we can rearrange the way we play the chords. So this might be better. So you can see we've shuffled it around, so we've got the second note at the bottom, and the third note, and then we put our original bottom note at the top. Okay, so that helps us when we're playing it with our left hand. All right, so that's chord 1 based on the first note of the scale. That's chord 5 based on the 5th note of the scale. Just imagine we were heading down from 1, so down this way. Actually, you probably can't see me, I've gone off the scale here. Let's go up here. So that's chord 1. So what about if we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that way? Okay, that's the other chord that we are going to have in our building block of the 3 main chords. And actually, although I've gone down 5, if I were to go up, it would be chord 4. So that also gives us another chord to play with. So okay, so that's chord 4. So you'll probably now notice that you can hear a lot of pieces where those chords get used quite heavily, starting on chord 1, and normally, to show everyone we've finished our piece, we'll land on chord 1 again. We can play our chords in various different ways as well. So the version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star that you've learned, to keep it simple, we just use 1 note from the chord when we were playing it. But it's interesting how we're so used to hearing this that our ear picks up the chord we're hinting at. But composers will use various other ways of playing chords. So as I said, we could do the whole chord. We could change our position or our inversion. Or we could mess around with the way we play the notes, which is very much a Mozartian way of doing it, and it's called an Alberti bass, when we're actually just playing each note alternately and back down again. So various different ways of showing the chord and making the sound of the chord. So now let's look at O When the Saints. So of course, first of all, you'll want to just go through your right hand. By the way, you can see there's a new symbol there. We've got a line underneath those 2 G's, and that's called a tie. That means we need to hold the note longer than 4 beats. So we've got to join it onto another 1 beat note in the next bar. That makes it a 5 beat note, and that's how we do it. The other thing you'll notice is we've only got 3 notes in that first bar. That's called an upbeat, and what we have then is a little bit of maths going on. So we have to basically put the extra part of that bar that we didn't include at the beginning at the end. So you'll see at the end we've got the rest of that 4/4 bar, we've got 1 beat on its own. So that's an upbeat. The other thing you'll see is in the left hand we've got some markers there to show that we're not playing anything until the first full bar, and they're rest. So we've got a 1 beat and a 2 beat rest. So there's another new symbol in the music as well that you've not come across before. You'll see at the end of the second line and in the middle of the third line, you've got a 2 beat note with a dot after it. And you can see from what's in front of you that the dot does something special to the note value. So it increases the note value by half as much again. So a 2 beat note becomes 2 + 1, 3 beats. And this applies to any length of note if you add a dot after it. Here's the right hand. Okay, now when you're playing a chord, it's going to feel a bit odd at first, trying to coordinate 3 fingers all in one go, but don't overthink it. In other words, if you just relax into it, just as if you're going to play one note, it will work fine. It's the minute you try and tense up because you've got more than one note to play, it all goes a bit wrong. Okay, and you can always just play the bottom note if you prefer. So that would work fine as well. But this is the left hand. We'll put those 2 fingers down to get that chord of G, back up again. And this time we're going to go 1 and 2 at the top to get the chord of F. Okay, here it is, hands together. And as I said, if you're not sure about doing that, you could always just play the bottom note at first. Or even the bottom note and the top note. Etc. So, I hope you enjoy playing your new tune this week, When the Saints Come Marching In. And if you want, you can either play the whole chord with the left hand, or if you're finding that tricky, you can just play the bottom note, or you can play the bottom and the top note of the chord. Good luck and enjoy playing the piano.